I'm Cameron. I go by he, him, his, and I am Puerto Rican and Filipino.
I'm Axel Javier. I am a she, her situation. And I am white and Asian.
Hi, my name is Matthew Perez. I go by him, his. I'm Mexican and a Filipino.
For me, like, discovering I was biracial was like my grandmothers sat together at a Christmas, and I kind of assumed that I was full Filipino or full Asian. But surprise, I'm not. And I realized that when I was like 6 or 7, and one of my grandmothers had blue eyes and the other one had brown eyes. So
I first realized I was biracial by just the different, the difference in cultures that my parents had. I always visited my mom's side, and she is Filipino. I just noticed a lot of the stuff in the house and the food that we eat is different from what my dad usually makes, and that's when I had an idea. I always knew that I was two different races, but like that's actually the big thing.
I think it would be the same for me because growing up, like Cam said, like I have my mom's side where she would just like the cultural differences, it's just little things like you notice in terms of for example, like food. Also, in the Filipino household, they're very family oriented. Not saying the Mexican family side of mine isn't, but I just noticed it's more homey in that sense. Also, yeah, definitely, like I said, food. Also, my my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family, they look completely different. So I would say that's what I noticed.
Matt, for you, do you feel like there's similarities in like the culture, or since like the Spanish took over the Philippines, do you notice like any similarities?
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like a lot of Filipino foods honestly are like Spanish oriented in that sense. It's like when my mom makes menudo and then when my dad makes menudo, they're a little bit different, but I can see similarities in the taste. Like they're not exactly the same, but I can definitely see similarities. Also, like I said, bringing back to being family oriented, I feel like both sides are very like close to home. Like most other cultures, I'd say it's like for me at least, my mom and dad never pushed me to like, oh, you should move away for college or stuff like that. They wanted me to stay home, even though ultimately it was my decision. So being more family oriented and whatnot.
So I'm only a quarter white. I mean, that's still biracial, but I'm a majority Asian, and it's like weird, like understanding, like, cause in comparison to like my mom's side of the family, they're more Chinese Filipino, which is like Asian. And like a lot of the struggle is like not looking like them. A lot of it was like I'm sort of bigger than the rest of them, like not in terms of weight, but like sort of like height and like shoulder size, and like that's weird because I can't fit into like any of their clothes, or like the clothes that I pass down are like too big for a lot of them. And like a lot of it is like this weird like Asian cultural thing with like girls where there's this shaming but not shaming thing going on, that my I suppose white side of the family doesn't engage in at all. So yeah.
I guess the dominant race in me is my Hispanic Puerto Rican side, because a lot of people think they just presume I am only Hispanic. They don't see that I'm Filipino, and when I do say I'm half Filipino, they just say, oh, okay, I kind of see it now. But I guess the Puerto Rican side has been shown more in my physical features.
So for me, I'm mostly Filipino. I'm 75% Filipino, and I'm 25% Mexican. But I noticed for my the Filipino side of the family, like they don't think I'm Filipino, and it's also my Mexican side of the family. They don't think I'm Mexican, so it's always kind of been in that struggle sense. It's like no one knows. Like everyone thinks like I'm some sort of Asian, but they've never guessed like Filipino, or I've also get like a little bit of Spanish, but it's never like no one's ever like it's very rare when someone's like, oh, you're Mexican or this and that. So it's from both sides. No one really sees me as Filipino or Mexican. It's always like some other type of race or whatnot.
I think it's interesting that you guys are both like 75% one and then like 25% the other.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that makes it harder almost because you can't really say like you're half and half. It's like
yeah, like you have to like explain the percentages to people, especially because like my Asian like 75% is like maghalo-halo. It's like, what is it, mixed? So like even then, like my mom's side of the family practices a lot of like East Asian practices. My dad's side of the family is like strictly Filipino white. So like it's just this weird toss around of like cultures and like not knowing, like especially in high school, like who I was or what I was supposed to practice. It was weird.
Yeah, I bet. How do your cultures clash? Have you noticed like especially maybe like among like privileges or differences in the cultures and kind of like how they conflict with each other, and then how does that affect your identity?
Like my dad and my grandmother certainly like carry this weird, I don't want to say like white privilege, but it's almost like in that sort of entitled kind of thinking. My grandmother is like unabashedly racist, and my dad is like less so, is more of like a disapproving than sort of like racist person. But my mom's side of the family is like completely liberal. Like my dad was an American citizen growing up, but my mom was not, and so she sort of understands the other side of the coin and raised me to also think that way. So like I sort of, at times, I sort of reject / like am very like ashamed of being part white, but it's, you know, it is what it is.
I relate to what you said, also because like I'm half white, half Filipino, and so with my dad, I guess my mom has always shown me like kind of more like a liberal thinking way of like treating everybody like kindly and not being racist and like being aware of like cultural appropriation and the things that you do. And so I used to be like growing up, like my family thought like that was kind of funny, or like me and my brother were like, Mom, like why are you being so sensitive, like that kind of stuff. But like now that I'm older, I realize like what she says has a point. And then with my dad now, I'm like sometimes I'll argue with him, you know, like politically, because we do have different viewpoints, or he doesn't see like he feels like he's being attacked sometimes just because of his race, but it's not really. It's more just kind of like how things are. And so it's hard. I think it's hard because like when you're half and half, like you want to stick up for both sides, but it's also you kind of realize like what some members of your family get and what some members don't.
For me, like it's not really a cultural difference for my family. It's more of personality wise. Like my dad's side of the family is definitely more outgoing, and my mom's more conservative. So it's just more of like that kind of clash. It's not because of the culture. I would say it's not necessarily from my mom or dad, but it's like their family members in the Philippines. Like my mom's, she has a total of 6 brothers and sisters, and I noticed like over there, like, you know, in a third world country in the Philippines, it's like kind of different. Like, so her family lives in the province, and the mom is usually the one that's take care of the kids, you know what I'm saying? Not saying like women aren't compatible or to like hold jobs or anything, but that's mostly what they do, is take care of the kids, as for the husband's the one that goes out in the job. As for here though, it's like almost the exact opposite, because it's like both my parents, you know, work, and then like, well, me and my sister take care of ourselves. So it's just not, I think it's definitely also a cultural thing. So it's like for my dad's side of the family, I'd say like it's also similar to the Philippines, where the dad goes and work while the mom takes care of the kids. But I think it's like once I got to America, it's just like I noticed it's like both parents can work, you know what I mean? It's not like one or the other is like superior. I think it's like, you know, you can do what you want in a sense. More freedom here, actually.
Yeah, I noticed that when I immigrated here. Like when I was growing up, my mom only worked weekends, so she could like take care of us during the week. And like she was still like working, but like didn't work as much. And like because my dad basically like refused to raise me, or my sister, and was like consistently gone. So like I didn't have like a real relationship with my dad like growing up. I think that's just kind of like the culture of like my dad's home though. In particular, I don't think it really has anything to do with like his culture and gender and in general. But my mom's side of the family, I remember growing up a lot, I really wanted to be an altar server because I was, raised extreme Catholic. And I remember sitting down with my Lola and my mom, and they were like, you can't be an altar server. And I was like, oh, why not? And they were like, because you're a girl. And I was like, it's always weird because my mom's side of the family has a lot more gender roles than my dad's side of the family does. Like, there were certain things I couldn't do and certain activities I couldn't participate in. Like, I had to fight my mom to play on my school's volleyball team because she was like, girls don't play sports and like stuff like that. It was weird.
I guess my Filipino side, so my mom's side, they had the typical, females would stay home and take care of the kids while the men would go out and work. But my dad was my dad's in the Navy, so he has been on deployment for most of my life, and like constantly going in and out for a duration like 3 to 6 to 9 months. So my mom was typically like she was forced to take care of us, and I don't know. I feel like it's not in their culture. It's just like a choice that my mom had to make, and like seeing that, I don't really feel as if I know I'm a guy, and like they don't really restrict me to doing any like some stuff, but my mom is really open. When I see her with my sister, she's really open to her trying new things and not really saying, oh, you can't do that because of your gender or anything like that. So I think like throughout the generation, like my grandma would probably do that, but I think my mom kind of got the sense, like I don't want to restrict my daughter just to do certain stuff just because she's a female or anything like that. And I feel like my dad's the same way. So yeah.